Good afternoon and welcome to my hobby bench. Once again, I've got my old friend, my Enya 84 cycle engine that dates back to 2016 for me. This is the one that my buddy Harvey just gave back to me. And it's kind of a cold and snowy day outside, so I figured that I would actually go ahead and disassemble this thing disassemble it down further so that I can actually do an internal cleaning of this thing. I don't think that I'll be replacing bearings on it, but I do at least want to bring it down to a point where I can, thoroughly clean it. And I'm going to do something a little bit different as far as cleaning it this time too. I think I'm just going to try and use some 91% isopropyl alcohol in a brush, and then just shoot it all full of ballistol cleaner, and hope that that does what I need it to do. See, this is interesting here. There still should be screws down in here, because otherwise, what are you really just pushing this thing out right now? I guess so. I guess that thing just pushes straight out. That spring's gonna get stuck in there. Yeah, see, this is not the ideal design. I like the one where it's actually secured a little bit better in place than that. This thing's got a lot of oil residue down there. These push rods aren't even wanting to magnetize out of here. Just had to increase the strength of my magnet is all. So now we should be able to get this intake manifold screws off. Get the carb off. I do have the carb and everything all freed up. It was locked up pretty tight, but is this. Hopefully that gasket will just be a good one. It's just stay there. Now this is the one that's a little tough to get to because that head screw is way deep down in there. Just this size. Yeah, that one's deep. A little bit deeper than my it's deeper than this wants to go, although I'd like it to go in there. Well, I think I got it loose. Yeah, I got it loose. Okay, I didn't need those. That one's just almost deeper than this L-wrench will comfortably fit into. I'm gonna have to pull my sleeves up a little bit here. So the last time I did a look inside of this engine was in 2016. And since 2016 then it was a brand new engine. one if I recall correctly, I purchased from RC Groups, and it turned out to be a brand new engine. So since then, it's had numerous runs on the stand. It flew in my Phoenix decathlon for, I don't know, a season. I don't know how many flights it had in that. So this has had some run time, so this is going to be interesting to see what it really looks like inside here. Oh, shit. Okay, I'm back. Package arrived. I had to go and take that. Answer the door. Sometimes Amazon insists on carrying it all the way up here for some reason. Yeah, this should just be coming right off here. There we go. Oh, I got one more thread here. There. Alright, so I don't know. I'm going to just estimate 15 runs maybe. I don't know. A few on the stand. 10 flights maybe. I don't know. So let's just look at this. So this is what, in theory, maybe 15 runs looks like. Interesting. I'm sure these tappets are probably too gummy to just be pulled out with a magnet. That's what I thought. So that's not going to happen. So the next thing, well, here's our valve. Don't look too bad in there. Definitely needs a little cleaning up there. I won't be dropping the valves, there's no need in that. I just kind of want to get some of this stuff cleaned up a little bit. This timing case is going to be interesting because try and pull it off gently, and it's at top dead center. Try and pull it off gently so that we can see how it's timed. I mean, I think I can always retime it again. It's not a big deal, but the other thing is, will we even be able to tell because of the fuel residue that's in there? Okay, there we go. Yeah, those timing gears need to be cleaned up. I don't think I could begin to show you the timing, the dots on them at all. Timing. Oh, well, you know why? You're not going to see the timing dots because you put it in like this. So either way, they're so dirty that you're not going to see the dots, and I would need to have magnifiers on my head also. But yeah, this is pretty gummy. I think that bearing is probably going to be okay. And I don't really want to go through the expense of purchasing new bearings for this one. This has got such low time on it anyway. Let's see about this, removing this front housing. Now this one I might actually take to the garage and heat up and get the crankshaft out so I can clean the crankshaft out up really thoroughly, and that'll enable this thing to come off, and then I can check that front bearing and clean it up. Because like I said, I'm just going to use alcohol. I'm just going to soak these things in alcohol and then just lube them up. I don't think that alcohol is damaging to bearings, as long as it's completely dried and not left on there. This is where it gets interesting on an Enya engine. That guy, there's a bearing in there also. That one's going to have to come out. This ring is free, that's nice. And instead of, yeah, this thing's pretty gummy. Certain parts I think I'm going to put in the ultrasonic cleaner. I'm going to take the crankshaft out. So some of these things I am going to put in the ultrasonic cleaner. I'll do the head. Yeah, because I've got some of that ZEP. So the head, oh, that gasket came off, good. So yes, some of this I think I will just go ahead and do. If I can take the bearings out without damaging them, I'll just wash them up in alcohol and lube them real good. So maybe I will just completely tear this thing down and just install the same bearings, because I'm sure the bearings are fine. I mean, it feels, it's tight, but it doesn't feel gritty or bad. Come on, just come off here. Come on, you can do it, just slide off. Gasket's off. Alright, so next step is to take this downstairs, get these crankshaft and maybe these bearings out of here, and I'm going to tap that thing out too. I don't know that I've got anything out. Sometimes that'll just pop right out, but looks like that's gonna need a lot more motivation there, some heat, cleaning. So yeah, I guess I am gonna do a pretty good clean of this engine. Look at all that. Like I said in one of my previous videos on this was an engine I really neglected. And look at it. Look at all the... I'm not saying this is a bad thing, because this may all be just castor oil. And if that's the case, castor oil protects as it dries. So I am going to go ahead and just throw some of these parts in the parts cleaner and turn it on while I go downstairs and pull the bearings out. Okay, so here I've got all the parts. I did do a complete disassembly, pulled bearings and everything. Not every single bearing, because this engine has 4 bearings. I pulled 2. The other two I just left in places, and I'll show you those. But I wanted to show that I did just clean all these parts up. Now, I'll start here with the carb and the intake manifold. It really didn't do anything to this because it was pretty much already done. And hopefully if you watch the first segment, hopefully I showed enough of these things that you could see the condition they were in. I thought that when I did that quickie clean the other day that I did a pretty good job, but it really wasn't. So let's go to the crankshaft. It's right here. I know you didn't see the crankshaft because I didn't have it pulled out, but suffice to say, this looks brand new, and it did not look nearly this good. Now, the way I cleaned all of these parts, every one of them, I think I said I was just going to do like an alcohol soak and brush on them, and that's not what I did. I still was using, and I love this Zep 15282 that I got from Mike. This stuff is incredible. This stuff really works well. So I did use that. Here's the rear timing case, and if I get a good angle here, you can see that rear bearing is nice and shiny, and it spins very well. This is the piece that actually engages in that within the engine. So it does very well there. So that timing case cleaned up well. The little cover on the back, it wasn't really too bad, but it was pretty grungy on the inside. Got our little timing gears. Now these were in really rough shape. These had some rust forming on them, and I've removed all that rust, and now these things also look nice, and everything is kind of glistening because I've got a coat of oil on it. Cam followers, not really much to look at there. This front housing was pretty gross, but as you can see, it looks damn near brand new. I mean, this engine was new when I got it in 2016, and I think in that first segment I said maybe it had, I don't know, 12 to 15 runs on it total. So here's the head, and it looks really, really nice. I think one of the things that the piston didn't look all that great coming out of the engine, but it looks fantastic. I mean, all of these parts look basically new. They're just clean, and they are basically new because they're very low time. But this crankshaft, or crankcase, had a lot of stuff in here, built up in here, dried residue stuff. And here's that other bearing. So the other bearings that I was talking about, there's 4 bearings in this engine. There's one there, there's one in here, and this piece goes in there all the way, and maybe I'll film the reassembly of most of this engine, but again, this bearing feels fine too. In fact, I could probably drop this thing in there right now and just push it into place. And it spins great. So, other parts, rocker arms, again look fine. I think the one thing that's interesting here is if you look, I don't know if you're going to be able to see it here or not. I see that there's a distinct difference in the settings, how these things are set. Well, I don't know if I can hold that somehow so you can see that or not. Maybe. But so I'm probably going to loosen these things up and reset them completely and start scratch, because if obviously 50% of the chance I'm going to get one of them wrong, so they're going to be out anyway, so I might as well loosen those nuts up. But I mean, cam followers, everything is clean. So the thing that I said I was going to do, which is I'm still going to do, is these are the original bearings that were in there. Are they perfect? No, they're not perfect. They're perfectly clean. Now this front bearing is in really good shape. Really good shape. The rear bearing, it still turns really well. It has a little bit of a sound to it, but I'm going to use it anyway because, like I said, for my purposes, this bearing will be more than adequate for, you know, my purposes of, you know, having this engine. I'm never going to part with this engine. I'm never going to sell it. If it finds its way into an airplane again, that's fine. But what I'll be doing with it is runs on the bench, and then I'll just take extra special care of it. So, I mean, I'm not concerned about that bearing giving way because that bearing has only got, you know, maybe 16 runs on it total, so, you know, it can't be bad, really. So anyway, I just wanted to show the parts, how clean these parts came out now, and whether I filmed the reassembly or not, I'm not certain, but if I do, then you'll get to see how yet another Enya 4-cycle engine goes together. I've got several of those videos that were very old. Some of the first videos that I ever did and posted on my channel were of actually disassembling and reassembling Enya 4-stroke engines. I think I did several 60s, maybe an 82, I don't know. But anyway, so that's this segment for cleaning this Enya 80.